Nintendo's reign of terror continues as they roll out a revised user agreement that allows them to brick your console. In their new terms of service, it's outlined in detail that you are not allowed to modify or tamper with any of Nintendo's hardware or software, and violation of these terms allows Nintendo to, quote, render your device permanently unusable. This means if you mod your console in any way, play pirated software or ROMs, etc., Nintendo can legally take away your system by rendering it unusable. How does Nintendo know you're in violation? Well, in addition to your system always being connected to Nintendo's online services and transmitting account and system data regularly, we have another amendment to the user agreement, which states that Nintendo may listen to online chats and view video, quote, in order to support a safe and family-friendly online environment and to detect violations of the Nintendo account agreement and other harmful or illegal interactions. So you cannot use mods, you cannot play ROMs, you can't even mod the system. Let's say you bought that Japanese version of the Switch 2 to get it for a more reasonable price. You know, since the Japanese model is over $100 cheaper than the US one, and then later you go and you mod the system so it can play NTSC games, something that used to be pretty common before the rise of region-free Blu-ray discs. Well, if Nintendo finds out, they can disable your system so you can't use it for anything ever again. Isn't having online connected software and hardware great? And it's important to know that Nintendo is very petty and will enforce this whenever possible. In fact, it's already been happening. Many people have spoken out about their Switch 2s being bricked for something as simple as using emulation carts filled with ROMs of games they already own. Some are even documenting the issue on YouTube and trying to figure out workarounds, but have had no luck so far. So let's take a look at just how petty they've been by looking at their recent activities. Nintendo made indie developer Pocket Pair remove game elements from Palworld that Nintendo claimed infringed on their IP, threatening legal action on them if they didn't comply. They sent cease and desist orders to a software developer who made a Smash Brothers dating app called Smash Together. The app's function was to help users find game or dating partners, but they were sent a takedown notice just before the app entered open beta. A Japanese Switch modder and reseller was convicted for infringing on Nintendo's trademark by selling modded consoles and was sentenced to 2 years in prison if he's found in violation again, and was also issued a $3,500 fine. Nintendo's desire to control the market even has them taking measures to restrict who can and can't buy or sell their hardware. If you were one of the lucky few who were given the opportunity to pre-order a Switch 2 system directly through Nintendo, which still didn't guarantee you a system by the way, you would have had to meet a specific criteria beforehand. To be given the privilege of buying one of their overpriced systems, you'd first have to have been a paid Nintendo Switch Online member for a full year prior to the Switch 2 pre-order. So that's a $20 entry fee and a 12-month loyalty commitment. Plus, you'd have to have had data sharing enabled on your existing Switch with at least 50 hours of total gameplay logged. So you also have to have purchased a Switch 1 to qualify. That's absolutely nonsense. And again, even if you had qualified and got a pre-order, you were still not guaranteed a system. But what if you want to sell a Switch 2? Well, they want to be involved in that as well. Nintendo partnered with several of the largest marketplaces in Japan to restrict sales. These marketplaces include Yahoo Auctions and Flea Market, Mercari, and Rakuten, which have varying levels of restrictions ranging from no sales prior to the system's official launch, so no pre-order sales on Rakuten, up to a complete ban on Switch 2 sales entirely now and for the foreseeable future on Yahoo. Nintendo isn't fucking around and they will take you to task no matter how big or small you are. And though their actions in the modern day are far more egregious than they were in the past, Nintendo has a history of greedy anti-consumer behavior. If you go all the way back to the days of the NES, Nintendo found themselves in multiple antitrust lawsuits due to monopolization of the market and price-fixing practices. Nintendo even restricted retailers from marking down prices of their products. Sounds familiar, right? We all know those beloved Nintendo titles never seem to drop in price. One of these lawsuits forced the company to offer $5 discounts to the affected consumers as part of a $5 million settlement, which, if adjusted for inflation today, is $8 million. And this isn't even everything, but for the sake of not making this an hour-long video, I've only pointed out some of Nintendo's ever-growing shitty behaviors. The moral of the story is do not trust Nintendo, they're not a good company.